Welcome back, everybody. Scott Dean is joining us now. You're going to get us all situated in our home. You're going to help us fall in love with our spaces in the next 30 days, right?
That's what we're hoping, to at least get you on the right path to falling in love again with different spaces, or feel like you've made a difference in small ways instead of one large way, which is what we were talking about. Is like, if you get the plan too big, it won't work, so you've got to narrow it way.
And I love the idea. New Year's resolutions, we've been talking about that a lot this morning as we're getting ever so closer to 2020. A lot of times when you make statements, they're too broad, and therefore you fail. But I also love, in 2020, a lot of times we look inward, but why not look outward?
Exactly.
Of new ways of feeling new and fresh, and it could be the spaces that we're using.
And it can be very small spaces. Believe it or not, you can feel really good about organizing one junk drawer, and you just go, wow, that was great. I feel like I did something. I feel like I got that done. So what I like to do, first of all, is say you have to make a plan.
I know, you're all about the plan.
You have to make a plan. It has to be attainable, and you have to schedule the plan. You have to review the plan. So that's what you have to do. Otherwise, it won't work.
Okay.
I break it down into 3 parts: the simple, the little more immediate, and then the long term.
Okay.
These 3 parts are key. And the first one is definitely start with your decluttering, organizing, and do something different. If you're always going to the same store, you go to the big box store and you look at the same thing every time, you won't get that new inspiration. Try this. Try going on the Container Store. It's first go online, www.containerstore.com. They have projects there. They have videos on how to. They also have budgets for what you're going to spend and how long it's going to take.
Lots of inspiration
Lots
there.
of good inspirations right there on their website. And what I love about it is that you can start very simple. So with the very first one, the decluttering, you're going to start with your kitchen pantry, your refrigerator, maybe your bathroom linen closet or underneath the vanity. Something that takes like a couple hours maybe. And that first part is key because it gets you the inspiration to go to the second part. Because if you don't do something, you feel like I accomplished that in a couple days, your plan will fall apart.
You're not going to want to do it anymore.
You're not going to want to do it anymore. So then we go on to part 2, and that's where I come into play. Part 2,
here we
and
go.
That's your interior design refresher. And what we love to have you do is bring photographs in of the room that you're feeling that's tired or needs something new or some new inspiration, and we can help you with that room and focus on that room. Whether it be a paint project, maybe just one painting of one room. Whether it be, hey, you need to get those photographs framed that you've had around for a long time and we didn't get them framed, didn't get them up on the wall. That's a simple project. And then when you're in the studio, a lot of times we'll say, how about some new pillows, a throw? Maybe it's a new piece of furniture. Maybe it's a piece of artwork. Maybe it's an accessory. So a lot of times we can walk you around and say, hey, let's just focus on that one area and maybe try something for the home refresher. So that's the interior design part of it, part 2.
And I think it's important to note too that it doesn't have to be, when we think interior design, we think we're doing this big major room overhaul, and that doesn't necessarily, that you can come in and just help us get things kind of resituated, fresh coat of paint, maybe a new piece here and there. It doesn't have to be that huge, where we're redoing
Exactly.
everything.
And it could be eliminating something. You could say, you know what, if that one chair in the corner doesn't serve you, let's just take it out, donate it, sell it, and just leave that space to breathe for right now, and then maybe come back later and add something to it. Or maybe it's just adding a new lamp because it's too dark in the room, or new light bulbs. There's a lot of different ways that you can change your interior of one room to make it completely a refresh, interior design.
And talk about the important, how having our spaces can really affect how we live and how we feel throughout the year. That's the importance of that. It does matter.
It absolutely matters. It affects your mood. It affects your environment. It affects the way you, especially what you feel. Productivity. How sleepy you are. Whether you're waking up, different colors help you wake up. There's a lot of different ways that we use interior design to affect our mood. And especially after the holidays and going to the new year, you need that feeling of, I'm going to get accomplished. You're a little bit down sometimes because the holidays are over. You need to get the next thing started, and the best thing to do is to do a 30-day plan for a refresher of your home.
I love that idea because it is that kind of time of year. It's like, I said this yesterday, I'm like, oh, the holidays are over. So give yourself a project. But you said make a plan. Now let's talk timeline and goals? If we're looking at a 30-day, like I'm really going to make this part of my life, how does that fit in with the plan of how we should be looking at
Well, what I
things?
like about the 30-day plan is that the first one's very attainable in a couple days. Now, you may not get everything done on that very first one, but you can certainly come back to it and add it to your next month or whatever. And the second one's a little bit more difficult because you're doing a little more deeper into the interior space. And then the third one is something that we call the organization of the of your long-term repairs and for your long-term projects.
Right.
And the reason I like to put part 3 on there is because that will get it out of your mind. Because right now you're like, oh, I got to do this, I got to do that, and where am I going to go? So all 3 parts are very, very key, important to get the plan so that you can focus on 30 days, but know that it can come later. Home Advisor, great place to go to for part 3, and this is where you're going to go out there and list your long-term repairs or your long-term goals for your home. You're going to go on to Home Advisor and place different bids for local vendors, and it's very simple. They will do all the work for you. It has multiple local vendors in one spot. The bids are apples to apples, and you define the project and the timelines.
Wow.
So they'll send you bids back for that project. If you say, look, I need new gutters on the front of my house and I'm going to do this in 6 months.
Yeah.
Right? That's one thing that you put on your part 3 plan.
Yeah.
They come back with, it's going to cost you this or this. You have 3 or 4 options there, and you start a conversation with locals. You don't have to be there to show up. They can drive by your house, or they can do it from photographs, whatever, but it makes it all in the same place and everybody's looking at the same thing.
Love that.
Yeah.
Wow.
And again,
That
it
makes
gets it out of your mind. Okay, so the gutters I don't have to worry about right now. Then the part 2 is a little more tough, but right now today I'm going to do part 1. So it's a 3-step process of how you should go about your plan so that it really organizes it in your own mind.
And I love that plan. You get it down on paper so you can set those goals in place. And if it's down the road, you can start budgeting because Home Advisor is going to help you decide what the plan
for part
is.
3, absolutely, yeah. And so on part 3, I always say you need just a little bit more detail. So I say pull off a detailed spreadsheet or something so that you can write it down on a piece of paper and list everybody that bid and what the ramifications were to make sure that you're getting it exactly the way you want.
Absolutely.
That's a little bit more paperwork needs to go into part 3 than maybe part 1, where you say, I'm just going to clean the kitchen out, or I'm going to
Just getting organized makes a big difference. And
Getting
then having
organized,
somebody like you where you can come in and just give us an assessment of how we could make our space better and what we can be doing so that we feel better. And that makes a difference in the quality of our days. And
usually if you bring a picture in of the room, maybe a couple different angles, and I start asking you questions, we can identify what you're feeling or what you feel like needs to be done right away, and we can make a plan, whether it be paint or whether it be, hey, let's think about new furniture down the road, or let's do a lamp now.
Yeah.
How about a new piece of artwork? There's a lot of different ways that we can assess what you're feeling in 1 or 2 of your rooms.
All right, making a
Love
plan
that.
so you fall in love with your space once again in 30 days. If people want to make sure they're talking to you to get that inspiration, how can they do so, sir?
They can certainly stop by the studio at 10300 Douglas. That's the best way to find me.
Yes.
And talk about your room.
Love
It's
it.
great.
great information. It takes those outside eyes sometimes
Yeah.
to
Right.
look, and it's very helpful and beneficial. And
Yeah, having someone else be a little bit accountable and follow up with you is very important. Even if it's cleaning out the pantry.
I was going to say, now I'm thinking about the linen closet I got to go do when I'm at
Exactly,
home. Okay,
exactly.
here we go.
do you come over and do that as well?
If you bring me pictures, I'll tell you what I see.
And where to put it?
And where-
What is that and why is it still in your
Toss
life?
and what is that?
Or keep it. Thank you very much. Go visit them out there or visit them online at hdtvdsm.com. Great information as always. Stay tuned.